Well, hey gang, how you doing? It's Jonathan again from Tailhunter International down here in La Paz, Baja, Mexico. And it's time once again for the Mexican Mint La Paz video fishing report. And this is going to cover all of the action that we had this past week. That's the 8th through the 15th of 2017. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for taking the time. Please subscribe. Check out the information below. And let's get right into it. Again, as I stated in the last fishing report, when you start the thing with a smile, maybe we had some pretty good fishing. So here's your smile. We did have a pretty good week of fishing actually, but I gotta tell you, I was really nervous as the week kicked off. You know, we've had just some fantastic, phenomenal fishing since August, September, October. It's been some of the best fishing that we've had in many seasons. Tuna, wahoo, dorado, it's been all over the place. We've had some great, outstanding hookups, great stories to tell. But, you know, like everything else, it's got to end sometime, right? And we're coming to the last few weeks of the season, and this is the time when the winds are going to start to blow. Temperatures are going to change. The sun looks a little bit different. It's going to be a little cooler. So this week when the winds started to blow, I'm thinking, you know, it's been a good season, but maybe things are starting to taper off, especially when our fishing counts took a little bit of a dive. Tuna got a little harder to catch. Dorado got a little more scattered. The bites were just a little harder to come by. We really had to work harder for our fishing the first parts of this week. And those winds that, you know, really plagued and did some devastation up in California. You know, just because we have a border doesn't mean we don't get those same winds down here. Certainly not as strong and certainly not with the same devastation, but the winds are starting to kick up earlier in the week. We started to have some white water out there. We were getting some bump. A couple people were starting to feel queasy. The fishing was a little more inshore, a little harder to get offshore. Bait was a little harder to get, so I'm thinking, hey, maybe the season's tapering off. Maybe we've seen the end of the great bite of 2017. And then the winds changed. The winds dropped down. The winds diminished. And the bite came back. For our Tailhunter Las Arenas fleet out of Muertos Bay, you know, we've been having some great tuna bites. They started out with these football tuna about a month and a half, 2 months ago. These 5, 10, 15 pound fish, they got bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, this week, hey, we had some legit 20, 25, 30 pound fish. Then midweek, hey, I don't know what happened. Somebody turned on the switch. They started eating their Wheaties. Somebody dropped steroids in the water. I don't know what happened, but these fish kicked it up. 50, 60, 70, 80 pound tuna right off the beach. There was even a 200 pounder and some other fish that guys fought for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. You know, everybody says, I want a bigger tuna until they get hooked up on one. Listen, a 40 pound tuna isn't twice as strong as a 20 pound tuna. They're exponentially stronger. So, you know, you put a fish in the boat in 5 or 10 minutes, you go, I want a bigger fish. Then they hook up to one of these big boys, one of these big slugs, one of these bigger cows, and they're on a fish for an hour, and you start thinking, it's really hot out here. Who tied my knots? And you start hearing that bing, 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 bing. And, you know, you just don't know what's going to happen. And sure enough, after these long battles, some of these fish got off. Some of these fish we saw at color, and they were well over 100 pounds, but they got away. Heartbreaking fish, but great stories to tell. Outstanding fishing. Maybe just the catching wasn't quite so good, but we all had a lot of fun. Some of the fish that we didn't see, we'll never know. But there were a couple of fish that went well over 100 pounds on the beach this week. Check out some of these photos because it's really going to be eye-opening. And some of the guys are saying they'd never seen fish this big, this powerful, this strong. On top of the tuna, we also had some wahoo come up. Roosterfish were also there. We also hooked into some marlin as well as some sailfish. So you add in another 10 bonita, a handful of dorado, 5, 6, 7, 8 tuna on top of that, and you end up with a lot of tired fishermen and boxes full of fish. We're sending folks home with, even after they're releasing and giving away fish, they're taking home so much fish right now. It's great to see all the smiles. Now, on the other side of the peninsula, over here in La Paz, with our Tailhunter La Paz fleet, again, the wind started blowing. It was really choppy here in the bay. I was really worried that things were tapering off. You know, we were catching 10, 20, 30 dorado a day, releasing as much as we wanted, keeping, you know, a handful of fish. Well, when the wind started blowing, all we were catching was a handful of fish. It got harder to find the fish. The sargasso weed was spreading out. The locations, the little spots of fish, harder to find. And then the winds died, and sure enough, the fish came back. We started getting into some of these. You know, there are a lot of dinks out there still, 5, 6, 7 pound fish, but there's some legit 10 and 20 pound fish. So we're having, as the week went on, as it got later in the week, the winds diminished. We're back into these 10, 20 pound fish. Again, I said a lot of small ones, but you find the right spot, and you end up taking home a box of nice Dorado fillets if you're fishing with our La Paz fleet. as I said, we're coming to the last few weeks of the season. Hopefully we're going to go out with a bang. We're going to race for the end of the course here, but it looks like things are really good. I was worried about these winds earlier, but looks like we're hanging in. The fish are still biting. Got a lot of fishermen out today. We've got a lot of folks fishing these last 2 weeks. If you're coming down, be ready, because hopefully there's going to be some big fish waiting for you. So thanks for taking the time. Thanks for checking in. This is Jonathan for Tailhunter International, and this is your Mexican Minute La Paz video fishing report. Have a great week.